Oh, Mark, looking back on the Boxing Day win over Shrewsbury, so many things to overcome in terms of factors, in terms of, you know, going into the game with injuries and obviously losing Harrison and Lloyd throughout the game, going a goal behind. I guess it was one of those days you could be forgiven for thinking was another one that was not going to go your way.
Maybe. I mean, I think when you fall behind in a game against them, they're so strong at holding leads and not losing games that that makes it a really difficult game. But I thought we handled those things really well. I mean, we're fairly well versed in that. We've had a few months of it now, and the next few weeks is probably going to throw up a little bit more. So we try not to be ones that complain about it. Just get on with it and try and affect the things that we can. So I did think that our ability in the game to ride out the storms of the game and make the changes we needed to and adapt to what the challenge of the game was very good. And the boys that came on made a really good difference for us in that moment, or in those moments in the game. So it certainly secured us a really big 3 points. It's 8 points in the last 8 league games for us now, which is in the spell we're in, you know, point per game isn't the worst situation at all to be in. So we're having to grind out some results at the moment. That's the time of year that it is. We've got 2 really tough ones ahead of us, but hopefully we can get to next week. If we could get something out of the next couple of games, we'll be delighted. But we know how big a challenge that will be. But we put ourselves in a good position in the last couple of weeks with the last 2 results particularly, and certainly the performances that went with that. So we're in an okay place in terms of our mentality and togetherness and work ethic. Not in the best place physically, obviously, but everything else at the moment is what it is. So we'll just keep grinding it out as best we can.
Yeah, I think it leaves you just a couple of points off of where you were this stage last season after the same number of games. And I guess when you look back on Boxing Day, I mean, with the adversity you had to overcome within that game, and you talked, you know, when we spoke post-match about challenges within a challenge, within the match, and I guess there's as much satisfaction or more satisfaction that you glean from a victory in the way that it panned out, rather than going out and beating someone 3-4-0, although perhaps slightly more stressful.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take the 3 or 4-0 if it's available, right? But we'll take them however they come. And in the end, the reality is you're going to have to work very, very hard to win games at this level. I think that's always been the case for us, and it will go on being that way. What I do like is, you know, you play a game against a team like Shrewsbury. They're so physical. They're very, very streetwise. They're very well-oiled in the way in which they play and the way in which they go about the game. It was a really scruffy and scrappy game in large parts, and actually not too dissimilar to a number of the games over the last few months. And a number of those games have gone against us, and the odd moment has gone against us, or we've not taken the chance, or we've conceded a goal when we maybe shouldn't have done. Last season we were drawn a number of those games. This season we've lost a number of those games. This was one that we came out the right side of, and I think over the next couple of months there'll probably be a number of games that look very, very tight, and the skill will be how many of those we can turn into a point scoring day for us. And for that one to be one that became 3 points was great. I thought the reaction to conceding was outstanding. The goal that got us going was good, and then the atmosphere and the players played with a real confidence and got ourselves in front in the game very well, and actually fought the game out really well as well. So there was a real good buzz around the place after the game and during the latter stages of it, and that was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I know you hold the players in really high regard anyway, Mark, in terms of the players that are in the building and their character and their personality. But over the last sort of couple of months, things have been slightly more challenging. Have you found as a coach that you've learned just a little bit more about them during this difficult period? Or if you look back to last season, there were obviously challenges. I'm thinking in the main game up at Doncaster, where if I recall, you went into the game with no midfielders and obviously had to overcome all the challenges. Yeah,
I think in the main, I think the way we've come through the period that we've had is really really impressive, because quite often clubs implode in those periods and teams can turn on each other and everything else, and that's just never been the case here at all at any point. And that's testament to the character of the players and the people that we've got all the way through the whole club, and what we've built in the last few years in terms of how we respond, how we behave, how we work. There's no doubt that lots of the challenges have hit us, lots of the injuries have hit us during that period of time. The confidence really got rocked, and therefore our performances and results suffered as a consequence. But we always come out the right side of that at some point, and that's happened in the last couple of weeks, and now the challenge is massive again and will go on being that way. I think in those big periods, you confirm a number of things that you already know. Some take longer than other times for them to come through, but also you get to learn lots about yourself, lots about the way in which we work, lots about the way in which we need to develop and improve and evolve. And in the end, like, growth and development doesn't happen without some pain and discomfort along the way, firstly, and secondly, it takes months and years rather than days and weeks. And despite a large amount of stability over the last 3 years, there's been loads of challenges within that, lots of change within that as well in people, and that's just a constant evolution of what we're doing, really. So that will continue in the next few weeks with the challenges we have, with the players that we add when things change again in the summer. That's just the way in which it will be constantly changing and constantly challenging, but that's sort of kind of the excitement along the way. And it's certainly been a really good period for us to learn about each other and to get stronger and to test the value of resilience, because you've got to show it, and we have shown it, and the players have done really well in that sense. So I'm really pleased with how they've responded to that. They'll need all of that in the next week, because two big away games in very quick succession will cause us the huge challenge that we know it will. See how we come out of that, and then attack the new year when it comes around.
Yeah, and I guess that learning, that development through sort of difficult periods, that includes yourself as a head coach as well, Mark. As with the players, you're always looking to sort of develop and enhance your experiences, and you'll take as much as you can from the last couple of months, whether it be in terms of man management or what you do on the training ground or preparation in games. Yeah,
everything. I mean, I don't think that ever changes. I was really fortunate a few months ago to sit and have lunch with Roy Hodgson, and I spoke to him about how he's coped with certain things, and that 70 years old and managed 1,000 games. The challenges are the same, and the learning is the same, because the game's constantly challenging all the time. And in a way, that's fairly nice to hear. I spoke to David Moyes recently at the testimonial game about the same thing. You could be 1,000 games in. I'm 150 odd games in, but they're 1,000 games in, and the problems are still the problems, and you still have loads of things to deal with. You have a little bit more experience of how to deal with it, but no two problems are really ever the same, because they involve people, and that's a great challenge along the way. But whether it's me doing this 3 years now, whether it's players that have having experiences for the first time, whether it's Gary Waddock, who's been around forever doing it, like, all of us are learning in these periods of time, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've been good, because we have a culture where we want to learn. We've not really got too much ego. We can accept when it hasn't gone well and work out why, and I think that's the biggest thing. So that's been a really good period for that, and that will serve us well, I'm sure. And as we come through the challenges of this season, we will no doubt be better individually. We will no doubt be a better team, and I'm absolutely certain we'll be a better club for the challenges that we've had as well.
Yeah, in terms of the negatives that came out of Boxing Day, obviously we talked about it post-match, Mark, in terms of Harrison and Lloyd. Is there, a couple of days on, of their injuries settled down a bit? Have you got an idea or an assessment of how long they'll be out for and what the extent of the two injuries are?
We haven't yet, Doug, really, being honest, not a huge one. They've been in yesterday to London for scans, so we should get the results back at some point today. We don't expect to see them in the next period of time, but who knows, because anything can happen quite quickly and things can settle fast. But until we get definite information on that, I wouldn't really want to speculate, really. So I'm hoping today we'll get a really good idea of where those boys are at, and whether they're able to contribute in the next week or so, or what the timelines look like. So hopefully by the time I speak to you, either after the Derby game or before the Sheffield Wednesday game, or maybe even just after that, depending on how the next few days plays out, we should have a more definitive timeline as to what we expect with them.
Yeah, and I guess it leaves you with just three fit defenders. I think I'm right in saying in Greg, Jibril and George. Obviously Mamadou out on loan at St Albans for the season now, and I guess it provides difficulties certainly in the short term in terms of your preparation for Derby tomorrow. And I guess that will include potentially James Broby having to drop back and Paul Digby as centre half cover if needed. It's that doesn't get any easier by the sound of it.
No, I mean the truth is we've obviously got those three recognised defenders that you've had. We've had other players that can play there. We've played a back three earlier in the season, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that at some point in the next couple of games. And the reality is, like a few clubs, we've got a lot of players that were sick Christmas Day and Boxing Day, some of which got through the game somehow. but haven't been well. We've had a few that haven't been in the last couple of days. So being truthful, the session today is to prepare for tomorrow, but we don't really know what the team is yet, because we don't know who's going to be fit and who's going to be well. And some people may just report for the game, having not played or trained in the build-up. So it's certainly a very, very challenging situation for us in terms of the availability of players, on top of already the injuries that we've sustained. But we've just got to get through the next week in the most profitable situation we can. Can we get any points from it? Can we take some real pride from the performances? Can we compete with two top teams that are expected to be promoted this season? I guess you go into it with zero expectation. The win on Boxing Day gives us a real boost going into the game, and we'll go and have a go and see what we can do in the next two games. But the challenge is there for us, but we'll certainly roll our sleeves up and have a go at it and see what we can get out on the pitch and see what we can return with.
Yeah, I guess it puts a little bit more focus potentially, depending on the severity of the injuries to Lloyd and Harrison, on the transfer window opening and trying to juggle and get a few people in the building. Does that include a recall for Liam Bennett? Is there a little bit more of a focus on that now, perhaps, Mark?
Yeah, there's a good chance of that. We'll see where we are after tomorrow's games. There's a good chance of that. They play today, Walsall, so we'll see where we are after tonight. But there's a good chance of that happening. And to be honest, the other bits and pieces probably don't change too much what we were thinking of adding anyway. So we will look to add, and if we can get one or two in before Bristol Rovers, then great, because it will give everybody a boost. But we'll get these two games out of the way first of all, and then see where we are.
Yeah, in terms of Derby tomorrow, obviously managed by a man you know well in Paul Warne from his days at Rotherham, and it's going to be a huge occasion for the players and everyone. And I guess it's one of those days really where, Mark, you have to, you as a group of individuals have to look forward to that occasion, but not get distracted by the surroundings and go out there focused on getting the win.
Yeah, look, over the last couple of years we've had a number of these good experiences. I think these games have been great for us. We've had some really tough days in them, some really challenging ones, and days that have taught us the level, and then other days where we've performed brilliantly and got some great results. So let's hope it's that side of the coin that we fall on tomorrow. I mean, it's obviously the first time for a lot of us going there. I think we've got 1,100 fans there. There'll be, I guess, 28,000. I mean, what more do you want? What an occasion, what an arena, what an experience. It's a great challenge, and the challenge of the two games back to back will be a big one for us. But really looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Warney. I haven't seen him since we last played them in his first game when he joined in at Derby, and obviously know him and a number of the staff well there, and get on really well with them. So I was at the game against Bolton on whatever day it was, a couple of days ago. Crimbo Limbo here. So we enjoyed that one, and look forward to seeing what we can do against a team that are in a really good run of form themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to cement obviously a playoff spot, the upper end of the table. But 10 clean sheets I think they've kept in the league this season. Goal scoring wise, they're not as prolific as perhaps Paul Warne would like them to be. I don't think they've scored in 3 of their last 5, so there's perhaps a little crack in the armour there.
Yeah, who knows? They've got loads of good players and a huge expectation on them. For us, we've got to go and continue building on the performances that we've hit in the last couple and see what turns out. But we won't get too wrapped up with them. We'll have a bit of an idea on them. But in the end, where we are at the minute, it's about turning up, giving the best of ourselves physically, and trying to get a positive response from our players and see how competitive we can be with them.
Cheers, Mark. That's all from me.
Thanks.
I'm okay.
Hi Mark, are you, in terms of Derby, are you expecting a much different challenge to the last time we faced them, given that at that time Paul Warne had just been appointed as manager?
Well, just a clearer picture of what they are. I mean, when we played them last time, we didn't really know where they would fall in terms of performance levels, and they ended up being quite in line with how his teams have been in the past. So they'll probably play a different shape to when they played at our place. With the back 4 this time, they played a back 3 at the Abbey, but we certainly expect them to have a clearer idea of what they are now, having worked with the manager and his team for a couple of months. So we know we have an idea of what that will look like. What we know is they've got some very experienced and very talented players, some very athletic players, and they play in a really physical and aggressive way. So they'll force us to defend. They'll press us really hard and well. It'll be a hard running game for us physically. But I think that these are the games that we were desperate to get promoted for, and we're desperate to be in this level for. So it's certainly one to look forward to.
You spoke about the sold out away attendance. How pleasing is it to see that?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's no real surprise. I think when we go to the big grounds and we go for the first time to a lot of them, especially over the holiday period for a lot of people, you sort of expect that back in. Hopefully we can give them a really good performance and they can have a really good day out to follow on from the Shrewsbury game. And then if any of them brave going up to Sheffield after last year, excellent. We look forward to seeing them there as well.
In terms of the squad for tomorrow, do you just expect to have a light bench?
Definitely. Yeah,
you definitely will. Yeah. And with Glenn McConnell as well, you said he was going out on loan. Is that still happening?
Yeah, he'll be going to St Albans and playing there, which will be really good for him. So we look forward to seeing how he does. He'll join Mamadou there, who's gone to play. So a number of those boys doing well at the moment on loan, which is good for them. Obviously their game time is going to be really limited here. We've got to get through the next game or two, and then we'll add to our squad, and a few of the injured boys will be back soon. So yeah, we're fairly comfortable with that.
Is that for the season he's going?
I honestly don't know the length of time. It's definitely a month to begin with, and then we'll just see where we are. It might be the season, but in the end, in any season loan, you can end it after 1 month anyway. So really, in reality, whatever it says, it's a month rolling loan, really.
No worries. Thank you.